Yeah, dude, it's you.
Yo, yo, yo. What up, what up? This is the Last Week Out podcast. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. If you like that intro, follow at Devin J. Hancock. All the artwork you see all around here is done by Sissy Art. Beautiful, beautiful art pieces.
All the flyers for Last Week Out.
Mm-hmm. All the flyers for Last Week Out. Pretty much everything that we have artistically related is through Sissy Art. We'd also like to give a shout out to Butt Out.
Dang your butt. Good big butt.
Got a big butt. Pretty much, they're our new sponsor over here. For anything that you need, whether it's vaping hardware, juice, etc. They got 2 stores here in the Valley. If you go online, you go to buttouteasigs.com. You use the promo code LASTWEEKOUT. You can get 20% off your entire order, no matter what.
Wait, 20?
That's a good 20% off your entire order.
Not just 2.
Not just 2.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that's literally whatever you get. It doesn't matter what you buy. You get 20% off. It's great. It's great.
What?
Now you gotta do intros. Who's all in the room?
So yeah, we got Big Daddy Slack on the sticks. Mm-hmm. Hello, Big Daddy. We got Anthony Tatum, the captain, and then we have our guest.
The captain keeps switching every week.
The goddamn only Lauren Smith.
Woo! Can we get a round of applause for her, David? Make her.
I love it when you wear these lilac panties.
God damn.
Right.
How did you know?
Well, and who are you?
My name is Nick.
Yeah.
What's up?
What up, Nick?
Yeah, I'm just subbing in for the day. Chad's out of town, so he's doing a whole bunch of weird stuff. I don't really know what's going on with that.
No one knows where Chad is, man. No one ever knows.
Yeah.
But we've had Nick here a couple of times.
Yeah.
We're always blessed to have him.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Super happy to have you, Lauren. Super excited to see you here and hear, your story and, everything that you bring to the world. 'Cause you're a great person.
I'm a grape person.
You're a great person.
Yeah, great person.
Great purple.
No, seriously, thank you for coming on. We are really excited to do a podcast with you. I was telling you before the show, the best way to kind of start it up is to ask a couple of questions about where you come from. And so, were you born in Arizona? Are you a Arizona native?
No, I'm from the Midwest.
What part of the Midwest?
Well, it's a podunk town
Okay.
called Marseilles. So usually I tell people I'm from Chicago, but it's actually like 2 hours south of Chicago. And all we really had was like a Burger King and a post office and railroad tracks.
How big was your school? Do you remember?
Probably... My elementary school was there was like 4 classes with like 20 kids.
Oh my God.
Well, per grade. So.
Okay, but they did separate them by grades because I hear sometimes in those small towns they'll put them all together.
No, it wasn't that small.
Okay.
But it was small enough that every other house probably had a child molester,
Jesus Christ.
It was just like the Midwest, just bigots and...
Bigots and chomos.
Yeah, maybe I went too far.
Maybe you're embellishing a little bit. As memory presumes.
Why I say that is because my mom, you remember when that website came out where you could look up predators around you?
Right. I know what you're talking about.
And there was a lot.
In that little small town.
There really was.
Marseilles,
yeah.
Illinois.
I did that in my own neighborhood probably like a year and a half ago. And there was, within 10 miles of me, there was like over 15 or 20 dots on the map.
Yeah, I always feel real
I'd
uncomfortable.
really like that.
They send you those flyers and I read them, but I haven't been on the website with my new neighborhood. Maybe I'll check that out.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I probably should.
Just live in ignorance.
I'm
It's
about
fine.
to have a baby too.
I was about to say, yeah.
I'll be real careful moving forward. So you grew up in Marseilles. Did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I had 2 half sisters. My mom was kind of really codependent, and my dad was a cokehead and he wasn't really around, and then she remarried to another guy, and then
That's how you got your half sisters.
those 2 sisters
Are they
came in.
older than you?
They're younger.
Younger?
They're theirs.
How old were you when she remarried?
6.
6. So you grew up with them.
I did grow up with them. Yeah, there's a big gap in age and everything, but
So wait, if you were 6, how old were they? Like 0?
yeah, so they got married and then they had the kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense to me. I guess that would have been those would have been stepsisters.
Oh, they
So
would have been?
Well, if they would have been coming into the family and not been half your mom. I sometimes
my
get that mixed up.
stepsisters.
Those
Yeah.
would have been your
Yeah,
stepsisters,
yeah.
but those are your half sisters. That makes
My
sense.
half-sisters.
So how long were they together when they were born? So are you like 10 years older than them?
I was 6 when they came in, so I mean there wasn't like a huge age gap, but there was just like a really big difference between like the way that we grew up. So it's not like I don't consider them my sisters, but we just had like very different lives, you know? And sometimes you could relate that to like an age thing, but it really wasn't. It was more like they were raised by, my stepdad's name is Joe and my mom, and then I was kind of like the reject child.
That's how you felt.
Yeah. That's
That's how it was.
Why is that?
That was reality.
So, you guys, did you stay in Marseilles for a long time?
Yeah, we stayed in Marseille. Well, I mean, that's the longest that I ever lived anywhere because I mean, I've gone to like 12 different schools.
Holy shit, why?
They just moved a lot. I think just always looking for something better, you know, and you know, we stayed there for about 3 years, and it was honestly probably the worst 3 years of my entire life. Like even just talking about it now, I kind of like think of that house, and it's just like there was a lot of abuse, there was a lot of mistreatment, there was a lot of really weird things going on, and like I picture that house, you know, and I'm doing the EMDR on it now. But I kind of like live in that house in those therapy sessions, and like even just bringing it up, I like kind of go back to that place, and just talking about Marseilles or saying it kind of like stirs everything up because it's like it was just really dark.
Yeah. Was it, and I'll go as deep as you'll let me on this one, but was it your stepdad that was the abuser?
Yeah, he was really abusive, and it was in like really weird ways. So he wasn't. I mean, he would kind of like hit me and throw me around, but most of it was like this kind of psychological, just kind of sick.
Yeah.
Like sick, yeah.
And that's why you kind of call your mom a codependent, because she would stick around guys that would do that kind of stuff. Is she still with him?
Yeah, they're still married. That's probably the hardest part because they live close to me, and every time that I go, like I'll go out, you know, to go see them, and his truck's in the driveway, and I'm like, you know, I'm working through all this in EMDR, and I'm like, fuck, you know.
Do they live out here?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yes. Yeah.
So Christmas is
Weird.
never fun.
It's just like there's always this like gloom cloud over it. Like I'm like, I know what happened when I was a kid, and you guys know what happened, but we're not really going to talk about it. You know what I mean? And it was really fucked up, but we're just going to have like this happy Christmas, you know?
You know, sometimes in these dynamics, when I hear about them, sometimes some of the siblings have a different perception. Are you the sibling who's like, this is fucked, and do the other siblings are like, no, Lauren, you don't, that's not what it was like? Or are they all kind of on board with like, this family is a shit show?
Yeah, it's funny because I've actually talked to them recently about it. And my sister, so they're 17 and 18 now, and one is a lot older than she was, like obviously when that stuff was going on. But like she was like, Lauren, like it was really bad for you. Like he treated you really bad, and we've had much different lives. And just to like hear that validated, was so powerful because I think like when somebody who's been abused or who has like PTSD or been through stuff like that, like the best thing that you can do is tell them, yes, this happened and it was messed up, and the way that you feel is an appropriate reaction to that. You know what I mean? Because then if nobody ever does that, you always kind of feel like, well, am I being dramatic?
Right.
No. And so for like my sister to say that and tell me like, yeah, that it was awful and you definitely got treated differently, I was like, thank you.
Yeah, no shit.
You know?
Absolutely. And so when you see him, do you just kind of abstain from conversation, or have you come to the point where you ever acknowledged it or talked to him about the whole situation?
Yeah, so the girls are moving out. My sisters are moving out, right? And so like this is a man that has probably also been abused. He's mentioned some things, but this is a man that that was very scared and very sick for a very long time. And his girls, you know what I mean? I don't consider myself like one, like those are his girls, you know? And like I've come to terms with that and I'm working through that and that's fine. But they're leaving now, you know, and it's still much different lives. Like my older sister, they're paying her to, you know, go to school. She has like a full ride, rent, everything, you know what I mean? And I'm like, the other week I asked them for some money, like, hey, my therapy is $600 a month. I have PTSD that I've been diagnosed with and also panic disorder. So if you could help, like that would be great, you know? And they said no. And so it's still going on, you know, but what's happening is my sisters are moving out and they're moving on. And so there's this man that's lived this life for so long. And I believe that his hell is beginning, you know, because he doesn't have anything. My mom's also started some recovery, which is awesome. She's going to therapy and she's stopped taking his shit. The girls are gone. I'm a completely different person. Like I have self-worth now. Like I'm not, you know, he told me a lot of things like you're an idiot. I heard a lot of you're an idiot. You're disgusting. What's wrong with you? It was a lot of that kind of thing. Like just you're defective. You're a defective person. And I know that's not true anymore, but for a long time, of course, I believed that.
Yeah,
you know?
fuck yeah.
I'd walk around, what's wrong with me? I don't belong here.
Well, and as a parental figure, I remember my first stepdad was a very unstable human being, and he had 2 sons and a daughter that I grew up with. Those are my step siblings, though. And it was crazy. My mom left him when we were 11, and I saw him, God, I was probably 19 or 20 years old when I saw him again. And I just remember seeing him, and I remembered him being fucking huge, you know? Like in my mind, he was so powerful and huge, and I hadn't seen him for a long time. And this maybe is like more of a primal guy thing. I don't know, because I kind of look at the world with like a skewed perspective sometimes on like, you know, this person can't hurt me anymore. You know, and I don't know if that's kind of the way that you feel now, but I remember seeing him again and he was sick. He was really sick. He got cancer. But he wasn't like in a hospital. He was still working. But I remember just thinking like, fuck, I used to think like you were so powerful. And now, you know, I can kind of compartmentalize it to being kind of like what you said. This is a sick person. Maybe his hell's beginning. I don't know if I wish that on him. And for you talking about your perspective on him now and like where your mom's getting healthy, like do you see a potentiality for you guys to ever overcome that? Like is there a reality where he could ever rectify what he's done in your mind?
I mean, he can try, but I've spent a lot of years saying, oh, he did the best that he could. He didn't know any better. And I'm in this period now where I'm angry, and I've never been angry. And I don't want his hell to begin either, but it's just like, it's the reality because everything is gone now. And his old ways, they're not working anymore, you know? And so he's forced to confront that. And like, I don't wish anything bad about him, but basically, like, I think it was like a couple months ago, he broke down about how he was molested as a kid, and like, you know, we all kind of knew that like what's happened to you, you know, you're kind of awful.
Yeah.
So he kind of broke down about that, and I don't really know what his angle was. I guess just trying to open up, and like, but at this point, because I'm going through this anger, I'm like,
get fucked, dude.
Kinda, yeah. Like
well,
I've been making excuses for him for so long.
You have and I don't mean to steal this announcement from you, but you have a kid now, and I think the longer that I've been healthy and in recovery, because I consider myself to be that, is I kind of can look back on people who have done things like that or acted that way, and for a while I think I kind of went through like I'm trying to have compassion, but now looking at like the kids and the babies in my life, I'm just like, how the fuck could a person do that?
Yeah.
You know, do you think
I'll go
maybe,
as deep as you'll let me.
do you feel like maybe having your kid too has like shaken a new perspective in you to like feeling like this wasn't fair or anything like that? Do you feel like that had an impact at all?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the anger stems from that because of his name's Jack and he's 5 and he's adorable.
He is adorable.
He's so cute.
He's so great.
And he's so cute. and like I do all this stuff for him, right? Like he gets these big birthday parties. I didn't have I didn't have birthday parties, you
Right.
know, and he gets a room and I decorate it, you know, there's like Christmas lights and he has this slide with a bed with a slide, you know, and it's just like, it's dope. He has a bunch of friends and he's so loved. And even if I get mad at him, I'm like, hey Jack, like I'm really sorry that I yelled at you. Like, even though I'm frustrated, there's nothing wrong with you and I do love you. I'm just frustrated, you know, and I make it very clear to him that this doesn't mean that he's defective or broken. And you know what? He was in timeout a few weeks ago, and I was like, Jack, you got to take a timeout. You know, he was kind of like going crazy, and not as a punishment, just like, please breathe. And he was like, man, he was like, Mom, my head is so mean. And I was just like, oh, no. Already? Already? You know? And I'm like, dude, what's going on? You know? And he's like, it's just really mean. It says a bad word. And I was like, what's the bad word? And he's like, I can't say it. No, I can't say it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, you can say it. Just tell Mom what's it saying, you know, like we can talk about it. And he was like, stupid.
I was like waiting. I was like, well, how bad is
Me
this word
too.
gonna be?
I was like, it's got to be a terrible, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, no, stupid. And I was like, honey, you got to take that. And I was like, listen, all day, every day, my head tells me, what if I lose my job? What if we get kicked out of this apartment? You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what you got to tell it? You say, shut up, head. You know? And he just started laughing and like, I don't know. I have the tools to do this stuff though, and they didn't. But again, that's something that like I've been weighing for a long time.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, you know what? You're kind of fucked off. And it's not my responsibility to make you feel better or establish a relationship or make sure you're okay. Like, it's just not mine. And like, whatever you're about to go through is on you.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, maybe get better, but we don't have to get better together. And hopefully he can have that experience somewhere else, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course I want him to be happy and free of all of this.
Yeah.
Every human deserves that. But I don't think I'm going to be as big of a part of it as I always thought that I was unless he invites that in. I'm not going to seek it out anymore.
I understand what you're saying. Well, where do you learn to be a good parent then?
I learned to be I'm in recovery too. So I have 7 years sober actually, and I have no idea how. But so the second that I left, I turned 18 and I got the fuck out of that house. You know what I mean? And straight into like this weird Craigslist guy's house. I actually saw an ad on Craigslist and it said free alcohol and free rent.
That sounds like a dream.
Exactly.
Dude.
Yeah, sign me up.
That's paradise.
Stupid. So yeah, I mean, I was like, what's up? You know, I got my trash bags and I got my things and I'm living on my own. And that all quickly declined and I didn't go back home, but I landed face first, you know, and I don't know, I just got out of there as soon as I could.
Yeah. Well, so you lived with him and then you get into recovery. Is that where you learn to be a good parent?
Oh yeah, that's where I was. Okay. Yeah. But these people in AA in the program have taught me how to be a parent.
What age were you when you got sober?
18.
Oh, holy shit. So wait. You moved out into the free alcohol, free rent place, and then you just got sober?
No.
Well, you were 17, 18 when you moved in there, right?
Yeah. So I got.
It was a rough 1 year.
It wasn't like I was never like at parties and like you know, there was no like party period. There wasn't like I'm gonna go to EDC and I'm gonna go to this show. It was like
no glam and glitz.
No, it was I'm gonna smoke weed. Okay, I'm gonna smoke weed every day. I'm gonna get prescribed Adderall. I'm gonna take 9 of those, and then at 16 I'm gonna smoke crack on a mattress. You know, with stupid 4 guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gonna go on the whole time, isn't it?
That's a great job.
Yeah, it is stupid. Yeah, you know, and then so yeah, I end up at Craigslist guy's house, and he very obviously to me now wanted more than a free roommate.
Yeah, like a positive roommate.
Right.
I just need to be around someone positive, and no, he wanted to have sex with me, you know. And I remember thinking like, I'm gonna really commit to this drug addict lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, I probably need to be a prostitute.
Yeah.
You know, like my brain was really broken, guys. Like really broken. So like he didn't even want to have sex with me. He wanted to like put me in high heels and like take me places.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you can tell that I'm gay. Like, I don't like dress like a bro, but like I wasn't about to wear heels.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then one night I got like really drunk and I offered myself. I went in his bedroom and I was like, I really need to, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a prostitute, and how else am I going to support myself? And I need sugar daddies and, and I knew that was the only way to do it. So I was like, let's just kind of break the ice. And then shortly after that, I left and kind of made my way down to like the avenues of Phoenix, which if anyone doesn't know, it's not.
Yeah, you don't want to go on the Ave side. Well, 7th Ave can be okay, but past 7th Ave gets a little rough.
Yeah, depending on where you are. And so I just kind of like traveled down there and,
Homeless?
Well, yeah, I guess I was homeless, but I think like being female, there's like a different dynamic to drug addiction because, and I could be wrong, but like I always had a place to stay if I was willing to have sex with someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and being young too, like, and absolutely as a female, but I can remember when I was younger, it's like when you're young, people are pretty forgiving. They're just like, oh yeah, you're cool. You got a place to crash. It's kind of like almost.
You haven't burned all the bridges yet.
Yeah, I guess you haven't burned all the bridges, but then people still believe in you. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, this doesn't mean he's a bad person. Now I'm 30-something, and I'm like, I'm homeless. People are like, yeah, that's a product of a lot of bad decisions. So when you're younger, it kind of passes. Yeah, I'm fucking idiot. So you learn to be a good parent in the rooms, and that's fucking awesome. And so for you, what's going on with your relationship? Because you had even said just now, like, you can tell that you're gay or you don't wear heels. Well, you have a kid. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about that.
What happened?
Yeah,
there?
well, you made a baby.
We missed the mark a little.
Yeah, dude, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, so I got sober and I met a guy, wonderful man. Like I've never said anything but good things about him, and we spent 4 years together. And me being gay was kind of like I was the last one to the party.
News
like
to you.
Yeah, and I don't know, because I knew that I liked girls, but I never considered that meant I might be gay.
Did you know you liked girls really young?
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't know that was liking them, though. Like, I didn't know that was romantic feelings. I just like to stare at them a lot. Like, so I remember like the first girl, her name was Dessa, and it was in the 6th grade, and like we would, I had like 6-hour science class with her, and I would just stare at her. And I remember like she had this long blonde beautiful hair, and she would like put her hand on her head in this way that just like, I don't know, and I just thought, wow, I really like her.
Yeah.
And I didn't think like maybe I'm a lesbian. It just didn't cross my mind.
Well, did you have that feeling about boys too?
No, I never. No. I've never seen, because when you love someone and they do the cute little things, and it's just like, I just love how you touch your eyebrow, like something like that.
Yeah.
And that's never, there's not that magic. I don't, it's, and with Jack's dad, his name is, should I?
Yeah. It's totally fine.
Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce. We all know Bryce.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely great guy.
So we had an awesome relationship, like I think platonic love is just as amazing as romantic love. You know what I mean? And I've had friends carry me through things that a partner never would have been able to. And me and Bryce had that. Like he was my best friend, and I loved to hear everything about his day and my day and where we were going in life, and we always supported each other. That it is love, know. And you support their dreams, and you show up for them, and you just do, you're there for them. And I met him, he was like this young hippie guy, and I was this young hippie girl, and like it just made sense, so I did it, and I was excited about him. But I think I was excited about him because he was really cool. Yeah. And I wanted to be cool, and I also didn't know I was gay. Right. So.
Well, that was
love is like wetness dripping down a girl's thigh.
No, that's a good drop. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
And so you guys dated for a long time, and so for me, when I think about that, it's like, how long did it take before you realized that this wasn't working? Because it's, you guys are a team, and honestly, everything that you were saying about how you felt about Bryce, I think is a necessary part of a long-term relationship. It's like, because there's a lot more than the surface level lust or even the sexual side of it, because we're not going to have that forever, maybe we will, hopefully we will. But when you were talking about those little idiosyncrasies, like about the things that you see in someone you love, you said the way that they touch their eyebrows or the way they laugh or something like that, where you're like, that's my human right there, that's something I really like about them.
Yeah.
How long were you in that relationship, not necessarily feeling maybe disingenuous, but before you knew, like, oh shit, like I'm maybe not into this?
It was about a year of knowing and trying to correct that.
In you.
Trying to force it.
Fix that inside me.
So prior to Bryce, were you in a relationship with any other people?
Not really, but I was able to kind of put it all together, right? So like I would get really obsessed with girls, and I'm also really codependent, which I think it's important to note that liking. Okay, so I thought I was just broken,
Okay.
right? Like I'm like, okay, because I've had like the child abuse, you know what I mean? And then like right after Craigslist guy, like just to kind of backpedal a little bit,
That's
right?
fine.
Okay, yeah, right after Craigslist guy, when I made it to the avenues.
Let's just call him Craig.
That's a great idea.
Craig.
So yeah, so right after Craig, I'm like traveling down to the avenues, and I'm like, fuck, you know what I mean? I need to get sober, and I'm kind of down there, and I'm kind of, just meandering around, and I have no business down there. I'm 18, very skinny, and have no idea what's coming to me.
Do you have a pocket knife on you?
No, I don't know the game. I don't know the
spray, taser.
rules of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know there is a game.
Yeah.
And I don't fucking know how to play. I just want to get high, and I never had like my young heroin buddies, you know what I mean? It was like me and a much older gentleman giving me drugs, And so like one of the much older gentlemen left, you know what I mean? And then I'm just kind of on 27th Avenue in Indian School. And like if anyone knows where that is, it's there's like this Motel 6 there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's very like it gets raided a lot. There's a lot of meth, prostitute. It's just not it's not wholesome.
No, it isn't.
It's
It's
not
not
a
a place to
wholesome-
stop with the family.
So I went there, and I was like standing outside of the 7-Eleven, right? And I was like, man, I really need to get sober. I'm abandoned now. And I had like $11, right? And I got a banana and a pair of sunglasses because I was on meth. And I was like, okay. But I needed cigarettes too. Maybe I had a little bit more. And there's this guy that came walking up, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, but can you buy me cigarettes? Because I didn't have an ID, of course. And so he bought me a pack of cigarettes, and he's like, well, I'm not trying to be out here with all this dope in my pocket.
That's a smooth pickup line.
I'm like, well,
hey.
sir.
Well, me neither.
let me help you lighten that load.
Let's go ahead and we can take care of that real quick. So yeah, he like lures me into a hotel room, and the rest is, I was raped like pretty bad, and at first it was like, he was like, well, you need to take off your clothes because I want to make sure that you're not the cops, I got to make sure you don't have any wires, and I'm like, like I knew what was about to happen,
Yeah.
and I was actually too gross because I was technically homeless, so like he made me take a shower, and like I knew in the shower I was like, I gotta get out of here, like, and he didn't have any dope either.
Oh, what the
It was
fuck?
a trick. It was a trick. It was a
I mean,
dirty,
all
dirty
of it's
trick.
fucking awful, but
Yeah.
that too, no
Right?
drugs at
Just
all.
salt in the wound.
I
Jesus
know. You're not
fucking
even gonna
Christ.
get me high first.
Damn.
Please, sir,
No kidding.
have some fucking mercy.
Yeah, a little bit of decency.
About to sexually assault me, you can put drugs inside of me. You know what I mean?
I do.
It is, and it turns out that he was a convict who was locked up for 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. So like he hadn't gotten laid in 7 years. He was an enormous man, and I was like, oh my fucking god! Like it was terrifying. And so I just kind of like, I did what he said, and then I started fighting, and then that didn't work. And then I remember this moment, and I don't talk about this a lot, but when I do, I like to share this moment, because I had this moment, I was like, okay, like what can stop this? You know what I mean? Because he's like, he's kind of going at it, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable, and I don't like it, and it hurts, and I'm very young, and he's very old, and he's sweaty, and it's disgusting, and I feel completely violated,
Right.
you know, and he's doing terrible things to me, you know what I mean? And it's you have to like think of ways out of it, and I thought of one way out of it that I was sure would work. And so I stopped him, right? I stopped him, and I was like, you don't have to do this. And I was like, why are you don't really have to do this, you know? And he just got a lot angrier, and I kept going. I like gave him a hug, like, so I thought, and this is
You could
just
appeal to his
heart.
His heart, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's a perpetuation of what I experienced in childhood. You know what I mean? Like my stepdad, he would hold me under the covers and like try to suffocate me, or I'd have to like stare at light bulbs up on the ceiling, like just weird things. And I also heard my stepdad, I would lay in bed at night, and this is all going to tie back to being gay, because like this is why I thought I wasn't gay, because of all of these awful experiences that I've had with men. And
Right.
I know that men aren't bad now. They're not. Like,
Not
they're
even a little. You don't think like some of us in here maybe.
not like it used to be, like all they want to do is hurt me. And that's
Right.
it. That's what they're here for. They're here to hurt you. And that's it. So like that's what this was, you know. And I would lay in bed at night. I'm like 5 years old in the dingy Marseille's house. By the way, I lived in like this weird closet room. And the baby got this big ass room, which I just realized that like recently, and I'm kind of mad. I'm like, why did you put me
Like
in?
Harry Potter.
It was like a
God,
breezeway.
you beat me to it.
It was like a breezeway, like the front door.
Like a mud room?
Yeah.
What?
Like an office / mudroom that they put it fit a twin bed and a dresser in it. But their reasoning was they didn't want the baby to be the first point of entry to the
Okay.
house. And I'm like, well, so you're going to fucking put me there? I'm only 5. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Yeah. You know, and I kind
Put
of,
the baby in your room, damn it.
like, why didn't we share that room or something? You know what I mean?
100%.
You know? So anyway, you know, and I would lay in that bed, man. And I would hear, like, he would, like, hurt my mom at night. You know what I mean? He would sexually assault her, and I heard her crying and begging him to stop. You know what I mean? And so this is all like this perpetuation of my childhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like all this is what I'm used to, so I'm going to act it out and live it out because it's all that I know. You know what I mean? And it's awful, but it's also comfortably awful. You know? And so like hearing that at night, and I wasn't able to do anything about it, and then being in that situation with the man who was raping me as an adult, I did the same thing that I do as a kid, which is like I feel like I can give them like a change of heart, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think it works like that. I think that when you have like an abuser, someone who's really sick, I think what happens is it makes them more angry because it's a mirror to them. You're confronting them with themselves in a way. You know, I guess I don't know how to articulate it perfectly, but it usually just makes them more mad, you know?
Fuck yeah. No, and I get it. Like what you're saying is like really powerful. I think to a healthy human being, when you say that, it's like I can appeal to something in them. There's something good in there. And if you can just muster that out, maybe you can, you know, rectify or kind of swing the table a little bit. But that's obviously not sort of what transpired in that situation. And you were kind of alluding to the fact that for you being really self-aware or conscious of yourself, you thought for a while that your aversion to men was directly correlated to your trauma, and that maybe some bit of fixing that trauma would rectify that. Am I right in understanding what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So like going at that, I'm like, well, I don't feel like I'm in love with this man that I had a baby with. You know what I mean? And we would have sex and everything, and it was fine. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't it was just, I just kind of did it, you know? It wasn't like, I've had sex with females since then, and it's like amazing. Amazing. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And
I agree.
Yeah.
it's so much different.
I'm
It's
with
so
you on
much
that one.
different. And it was just fine, you know, with it. It's like, okay, you know, this is what my body's supposed to do, you know? And so, yeah, I just pretty much thought that I couldn't love him because of everything that I had been through. And that if I could fix that, then I would be able to love him. And I was obsessed with this idea. And I did a lot to carry that out. You know?
Oh, shit. That's super powerful. I knew, and we've actually needed to go to break for a little bit of time, and I didn't want to stop you because it's so far super powerful stuff, and it couldn't be stopped. But at that thought, we're going to take just a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
We will be back.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now we can breathe.
Yes.
Yo, yo, yo. We are back.
Mm-hmm.
We are back with the wonderful Lauren Smith. Welcome back.
Yeah, we took a little break. Our breaks are always good. We always sit out. I feel like all the magic happens on break. I always say that. It's like we come back from break. It's like, shit, we should have recorded the break.
That was saucy
we missed all the
conversation.
good stuff.
You just missed it all.
Yeah, it's
was
we
really good.
paralleled it to Jack Black's greatest. What is it called? The greatest song in the world. You know what I'm talking about? Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that no one's ever heard.
That no one's ever heard.
Are you talking about Bruce Springsteen?
No, Jack Black for sure. Where he's like, the greatest song.
Soundbite's gonna come in right now.
And so it's like, no one will ever know. But what happened out there was, would have changed lives. We could have really helped some people, but we just didn't record it. So you guys get the redacted version in here. You get the watered down stuff.
Much more appropriate.
Much more appropriate for sure.
I mean, I'm willing to go there.
No, we're not.
I really want to talk about it.
I'll go as deep as you'll let me. So when we left, God, I want to remember exactly where we were, but you were talking about sort of your coming to the realization that the way that you feel about women, you can't make yourself feel about men. And you talked about having a kid and sort of trying to want to fix that. And I think that the best place to kind of come back to is for you, what was the precipice that you realized like this isn't going to work in the relationship you were in with Bryce?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I've identified is this level of sacrifice that when you love someone, you will do anything for them. You will cross rivers and mountains, and all the songs that sing about that kind of stuff is true. Mm-hmm. And that was actually a really big part of it. Like, songs on the radio are never how I felt about men.
Yeah.
It was always like some best friend that I didn't really know I was in love with that, I don't know, I was like, God, I do see the stars in her eyes. And then I'd be like, no, think about your son's father, and it's like, I remember I would like try, I'd be like, okay, and I did a lot of things to try and correct my gayness.
Yeah. I do.
So
well, we've learned, but I think for me, and we said this on break, you were saying some really powerful stuff about what you and Bryce had built and the foundation of love, because you didn't minimize the fact that there was love there. You said there was love there, and all this, and you did have some sacrifice though, and you were talking about it. And for me, sometimes on the movies, or I'll meet somebody who says something about the relationship, and it's not that I don't believe them, but for me, it just hasn't been my experience in my relationship, that it's always just been like a movie, and maybe it's like, in 5 years, me and my wife will be divorced, and you'll be like, told you, you're supposed to feel that way. I don't think you're saying that, but, what I come to find with my wife is the things that I love about her are those small moments, that you can't coordinate, and that's what you were saying was missing. When you said the touch of the eyebrows and the things like that, is that was really powerful to me, is like that's what I have for her. You know, there's these little things, and for you realized that wasn't there with Bryce.
No.
No, not at all.
No.
And you realized it in, was it a day's notice, or you worked into it, like edged towards it and then came to it, or how did you have solace in the fact that it was never going to be there? There was no working for it.
Yeah, so there was a lot of lists that I made. Like I had a lot of lists and I rated people on the lists, right? So like this is one of the things that I did. And it was like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did I like each of these people in that special way? Which is, it's so hard to describe. You know, we spend like a lot of time trying to describe that in poetry and music and in movies. And it's like, it's just this feeling that you would do anything for them. And it's almost, I think, worship in a way. And you know, sometimes that can be healthy or unhealthy, but it just wasn't there. I didn't feel like I would move mountains for him, you know, and I think that he deserved that, and I think that I also deserved to experience giving that kind of love. And so what it looked like a lot was just kind of like me falling in love with my friends and not really knowing what that was, and thinking that I'm just traumatized and broken. And you know, it doesn't have as much to do with like the trauma and all of that stuff as I thought. It's like a fundamental part of me that, you know, I look at women differently. They're really special and they're really beautiful. And I don't think I've ever really looked at guys like that, you know? And so to try and fix that, basically like what I did is I did a lot of praying and meditation, and different stuff like that to kind of like pray the gay away, you know? So
when these thoughts started to become like more prevalent in your mind, like that you weren't going to excuse me, cross rivers or move mountains or stuff like that, like how did that make you feel? Were you sad?
I was just curious. Like I was like, why? Like what is going on? Like why don't I feel like that? So like what that turned into is me forcing it. Like I remember he would lay there at night and I would like stare at him.
Yeah, you're
to like try and like bring that about, you know? Like I would stare at him, or I'd listen to these songs on the radio and I'd be like, okay, you're gonna think about him. You're going to think about him. And I tried really hard for a long time. And I even tried to face some of my trauma. I went to therapy and I told him I was going to therapy for my trauma. And I was going to therapy to figure out
how to love Bryce.
Yes, exactly. That's what it was. And it was like, how do I get rid of whatever's in the way of that? And
damn, dude, you're one song away from just buying into that relationship. One justification.
I know.
I get it though. No, I 100% get what you're saying. It's so relatable. Is during these moments of just like deep self-searching. Have you found that with a person yet though?
Yeah, so I have found the magic, like that special piece. Sadly, it's been like me more kind of like scrambling to fill the role that Jack's dad left behind, you know, and like, okay, who's ready to be Jack's mommy? You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I don't want to date. I want someone to spend the rest of my life with. And, you know, and it doesn't really work. And that kind of spiraled into this whole codependency thing. So I did have magic. The sex was awesome. I looked into their eyes. I held their hands. You know, it was great. It was cool. It was so cool because I was like, I actually get to be in a relationship with someone that I feel like this about.
Okay.
And it was so cool. But unfortunately, it was just kind of empty because I'm just kind of searching for like a life partner that, you know, I moved like a little bit too quickly, you know, and it spiraled into this codependent thing. And right now I'm just kind of taking space to like process all of this. And I've also never been alone. So the last like month or so has really been about like, I'm not going to date anyone. I'm just going to reflect on my entire life pretty much, you know, everything that's happened and just kind of like review that, because I don't even know what I want in a partner. Because when I came out, it was just like, if you're a girl, I like you a lot, and especially if you want to be with me.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
it's like now that you're out and it's here, it's like it's new exploration for you.
It was fun.
Yeah, fuck
it was
yeah,
fun.
dude, I bet.
It was fun. I didn't meet any like 20 to 30-year-old lesbians that were like quite ready to like bake cookies and have Christmas, which is what I wanted. But I'm sure she's out there, you know. I will be on the market in 6 months.
Okay, yeah, go post it up. We'll make sure we tag our Instagram with
what
that.
What month is that?
Right now that would be
January.
like March.
It'd be January.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're in July. Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
January.
New year, new you.
What if you meet a girl named January?
Oh, shit.
Hey,
God
don't
damn
make
it.
that face.
Oh, sorry.
That's not a smooth face. So in this exploration, have you started to, like, what has helped you as far as, has therapy been really helpful? Reading books, like what's done it? Because like right now, I just read books that just tear my soul apart, you know, and it's been really good for me to kind of question these dark crannies. Where have you seen the most growth for yourself? Like what activities are pushing the limit?
You know what's interesting is like a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Like my friends are a lot of people on podcasts, and it's because they're these people that I haven't really met in real life. Like they've developed this, they have more knowledge than what I'm used to. They have more information, you know, and they're giving that to the world. And I do think it's really awesome, you know, because I get to learn things that I never would have gotten to learn in normal conversation. So podcasts have really been a big part of it. I'm doing Codependence Anonymous.
What's that about?
So, turns out that a lot of codependent people, it can kind of like be traced back to their childhood. You know, there's like this aggressive neediness, you know, that exists. And so like we're kind of digging all of that up in there. And that's just kind of like helping me be more independent and to say no and to get out of things and stay out of them so that I can just have this period of time without like scrambling to try and fill the void, like living in the void. And
It's so
why there
hard
is
sometimes.
it's excruciating. I went to like this big conference last night and I had to pray on my knees twice to not respond to a text from my ex-girlfriend. And it was really hard because I love her.
Yeah.
But I know that I need this, you know?
You also gave me a piggyback ride through a giant crowd. That was
That
fun.
was probably hard, too.
amazing. That might have been the
She's
highlight.
surprisingly strong.
Yeah?
It was like
I
no
guess
effort
so.
for her, it seemed
No,
like.
it was effort.
Oh. It felt like it was no effort.
But I didn't want to stop
Yeah.
because it was so fun. Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah.
so leaning in, is that why you're on the sabbatical? Is that why you're off the market till January, mainly because Codependence Anonymous?
Yeah, they have like this detox period, and I think it's not necessary for everyone, but for me, I'm like very anxious to find, like, I date to marry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, oh, let's enjoy the moment with this person. It's like, all right, you know, credit score, political views. Are you ready to be a mom with me?
You're ready to lock this thing down.
Like,
with
lock,
me. Joint
let's
bank
go.
accounts.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, can I borrow money for therapy? Like, I've done that, you know, and that freaked him out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm just too anxious to, you know, and so I think like just some time to kind of sit back and like absorb all of this instead of running from it, you know.
I just sat back and absorbed everything, like all of your guidelines that you just said, and I'm realizing that if a straight woman would have brought that to the table and asked me those questions, I would have failed every single one. Every single
Yeah.
one. God damn.
Well, for you, I mean, where are we headed? Are you feeling like you're getting stronger in all of this and your resolve and your understanding about your sexuality and who you are as a person?
Yeah, and kind of like, you know, like I don't know why I'm gay. I don't know, like there's this deep, I'm very analytical, and so I want to know like, okay, but why?
Right.
Why am I, what does that mean? Where does it come from? And I've just kind of come to the resolution that like, it doesn't really matter. It's what I like, and I don't know if it's biological, but I know that I have special feelings for girls, and like that was really exciting for a while, and I kind of ran that into the ground a little bit, and like now I'm facing myself for the first time in my life. Like all of this trauma and all of these things, and like really examining everything and doing like really deep work and EMDR, and you know, it's really hard. And like I lay in bed at night and I cry a lot, and it's not fun, you know what I mean? But there's this element of excitement to it because now there's nothing stopping me. Like I'm not in a relationship that I'm trying to get out of. You know, I'm not repressed by my childhood home and my parents anymore. Like, it's just me now. And so it's like, I think if somebody can have the courage to like turn around and ask themselves who they are and what they want and actually do something about it, then you're unstoppable. And there's these quote, you hear these quotes like, we're not afraid of our failure, we're afraid of the power of our success. And I'm like on that journey, man, because this is like the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. Everybody kind of like has a thing, and mine is like, I guess I have like 4 things. We got some codependency, some homosexuality, and like trauma, and like just fucking triumphing through it all.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't think I could. Like last year, I was really suicidal. You know what I mean? And I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
I hate being alive. And it's sucked so far. And so I think if you can like kind of like look in the mirror and like figure out how to live for you, and not somebody else, not the person that you love or what your friends are going to think or what you think society wants you to do. It's sitting with those dark nights of the soul and asking yourself, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, maybe I don't understand the world, and maybe I don't understand war and why we're here, and maybe none of it really makes any sense, but maybe I don't have to understand. Maybe I just have to find out what I like to do, and like bring joy into people's lives, and I can be very cynical at times, and like, it's easy. It's so easy to sit back and just be like judging everyone and be like, well, I want to die. Being alive sucks. You know what I mean? Like, that's easy. What's hard is to look at why and to take accountability for why why I hated everything and everyone, and not just be a dick in the back row. You know what I mean? And because it's harder. It's harder to examine yourself and to find something out of that one little gem, you know what I mean? And go after it. And like, I don't know what that is yet. I'm exploring music and the guitar, and I got a keyboard. I wrote like a chapter of a book.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's called The Taste of Suicide.
Oh my goodness.
That's some heavy shit.
It is. It's really heavy. I mean, I got some heavy stuff, and like, it's because of last year, the way that I would look up at the tops of buildings and kind of gaze at them as if I had a crush on them. Like, oh, that is not looking bad, and it got really dark, and like, I don't know. I think that people need hope. Like, I hope maybe I could publish it someday and find like a girl in a bookstore, or my book will find her, and like, she's about to give up, and I'm like, dude, just hold on, just a little bit longer.
There it is, dude.
And that's what, yeah.
I can like totally relate to what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
6-7 months ago now, I there's a certain way that a lot of people who successfully maintain long-term sobriety go about doing that, right? That works for a lot of people, and it worked for me too. But then it's exactly what you said, right? Like, I essentially had to take a different route, right? Which is, it's almost identical to coda or whatever, codependence.
Yeah.
It's almost identical, right? But leaving no single rock unturned, right? Because I wouldn't say that I was necessarily suicidal, but I was the most broken that I'd ever been. Like, all I wanted was to get that breath of fresh air swimming towards the top of the pool, when it felt like a cinder block was tied to my ankle. And I couldn't get it. I just couldn't fucking get it because I didn't understand. It's like exactly what you were saying, And then I had somebody take me through it and write all this shit down on paper, right? Every single aspect of my life, and finding out what my actual true fears are and my true things that I thoroughly enjoy, things like that, right? It's like such a moving experience, dude. It's wild. Like, I completely understand what you're saying. It's so awesome that you did
and you're
that.
a real dragon slayer out here. Like, when you just went on that tangent talking about the dark nights, and tearing things apart, and it's scary when people share about, like you were saying, you're fantasizing about not living, and that's right stuff to be talking about. And the fact that you're so liberated right now, you've kind of cut all your ties, and right now there's really no excuse, You know, you're like, you're not pretending to be anything. You're just turning those rocks over, you know? And so did you have to, was there a certain amount of misery that had to happen for you in order to become as willing as you are to be tearing this stuff up? Or how did you essentially begin this work? Like, where did that come from? The ability to look at all this stuff and be ready to take it on and to be willing to sacrifice, you know, not dating for a while. It sounds like you're really doing this stuff, you know, like you're really on a journey. Did it just clicked during all of this for you?
Yeah, well, starting to date women like brought about this whole new dynamic to relationships because I actually was emotionally invested. Yeah. And it's not like you're not I was emotionally invested in a different way. You know what I mean? And that brought everything up because it was much different than dating men, you know, because I like men. It's just different. Like it's way more emotional, you know? And so I found myself like I said, kind of like chasing to fill this void. Right. And it was a mission. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like this. Okay. It was like, I need to complete my family. You know what I mean? And I will do whatever that takes. And a lot of it was for Jack and a lot of it was delusional. And it did a lot of damage to me and the people that I dated. I really hurt them and I really hurt myself. And I just started to slowly, like I declined, like I started deteriorating, you know, like my soul did, you know, and I didn't really know how to get out. And so what I did is I started seeing this psychoanalytical therapist. She was very, very like, she was like Freudian and like she studied at the Young Institute in San Francisco. And so she was like really smoke and mirrors, you know what I mean? And I was like, let's do this. Like I'm ready, because what had happened is I started getting panic attacks, right? Like all this is coming out. It kind of just caught up with me. It was almost like a slingshot. And honestly, like I'm seeing this therapist and we're diving into this deep work because I do want to get better, but I don't know how. And she's going to help me, right? And I kind of had all my eggs in one basket with her, which is my first mistake. The second mistake is Jungian like psychotherapy is for, and I could be completely wrong, but it's more for people later in life. And like I just didn't need to be exploring my psyche. Like I needed coping mechanisms, you know what I mean? And I didn't know that. And I thought that she would know that. And it didn't go well. So we're diving into my psyche. And all I'm fucking doing is trying to get better, right? Like I'm making an honest fucking effort.
Perpetuating an existential crisis.
Dog,
right now.
I know. It was so bad. It was fucked up. So that broke me, you know? And I had like one breakdown in her office. And one morning I woke up. It was one day. You know, I woke up and I couldn't breathe and it was 4 a.m. and I remembered everything. I remembered the rape. I remembered my childhood. I remember hearing my mom getting raped at night, you know, and I realized that I was gay and I realized I didn't have Bryce anymore. And I realized that I was about to be evicted because my relationship became more important than my responsibilities. You know, making sure that they loved me was more important than paying rent on time, you know what I mean? Or getting a better job, you know? It became my sole purpose was to find somebody to fill this void because I don't have an identity. I don't have one and I need yours, you know? I need you to validate my existence because I don't know how to validate my own. And that's when I realized like, maybe I should learn how to validate my own existence, you know? And it's just like, that's kind of what happened. So I woke up and I'm having these panic attacks and these nightmares and I'm sweating and shaking and I couldn't eat for a few months. It was really gnarly. And later I found out it was panic disorder, which is like really fucked up, dude. It is the most terrifying experience I've ever had. It was worse than any of my trauma, anything that I've been through. Like going through having panic disorder was like completely disorienting and it was gnarly because you pretty much like just get afraid of panic attacks, and that's kind of like what propelled it, you know, was that day. And I couldn't eat for a while and I was like, okay, something's off, you know.
Well, you're in the light now, huh?
Yeah, I have like a tight chest a lot, but I'm way more comfortable with myself. Like I feel it in here. And a panic attack for me is like, so I woke up and like I couldn't breathe and like I didn't really know what they were. Like, oh, panic attack, you know, it didn't mean anything. But really for me what it is like, so my whole body gets really hot and there's like these chills that go all the way down. And so there's a physiological response, but there's also like an emotional and mental response too, because something crazy is happening to your body. And really what it is like I've learned through books and things like that, that your amygdala, like the fear center of your brain, basically, you know, mine, or maybe someone with a lot of childhood trauma, has been hardwired to not feel safe. You know, so you're always kind of like in this adrenalized state. You're always kind of heightened, kind of on guard. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, so everything around me started falling apart. And my brain is like, you're not safe. You're not safe. And I wasn't, but it's also very overreactive. Mm-hmm. But also there's part of me that is like, I needed something really bad to happen. Like I needed to either do drugs or, you know, thank fucking God it came with the mask of panic disorder, because like I don't know what would have happened if I would have went back to drugs and alcohol, you know. So it's really scary. And then like your mind starts doing these things too, because your body's freaking out and you can't control that part. At least I didn't know how. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So now in the AA, the therapist is like, she's like, you know, we're doing all this deep work, but I don't trust her. I forgot to add that element because she doesn't like AA. Right? She said AA makes people depressed. You don't need to go. You can replace it with therapy. And this is a woman with a PhD. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah. I don't want to go to meetings all the time and like.
That's a good way to start your young therapy there, though.
Right,
like,
dude.
Challenge that. All your belief systems are shaken.
It was very existential. Yeah. Yeah, you know. And so I just woke up and it was like it just all shot through me, you know. And
how long ago was this?
This was actually, is it July?
Mm-hmm.
It was a year ago this month.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it? It was July 23rd.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You remember the day?
I do, because I texted my therapist and I said, I'm having repeated panic attacks. Please help. I don't know what to do.
Okay. So someone listening and they're going through maybe a tenth of what you're going through, or some of what you have, or anything like that. Synthesize something for them as far as what's helped you. Give them just like a minute, because we're about to wrap up here, of what you could say, or what direction you could point somebody in. With
the panic disorder, with the anxiety,
or the gay, who's got the gayness going on.
Oh God, yeah. I would say anxiety. If anyone freaks out like that, it's really fucking scary, and you can call me and I will help you. But what I had to do, because I didn't trust my therapist and I didn't trust my sponsor, is I used Google. Like I had to repress and cure my panic disorder, like with Google. And I know there's like so many negative connotations, but I didn't read the bad stuff. Like there's so many people out there, like on Reddit, there's like subreddits, and like that helped so much. It was like how to get through a panic attack. You can make a panic diary. This is how you breathe. And like breathing sounds like bullshit, but it sends messages to your brain and calms you down. You know what I mean? And if you're gay, like it's okay.
Yeah,
you know?
Honestly, we've spoken. We've known each other in passing. Very, very powerful stuff. I'm excited for you to rehear it, because I think that you are a powerful person, and I am really excited, hopefully, to be able to sit down with you in a year and hear about some of the really heavy things that you've been working on, and hear, you know, what solace you're getting out of them. But for me, you challenged a lot of my thoughts, and I honestly couldn't have asked for a better conversation. So thank you so much for coming on.
Agreed.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're out of here. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Nick, for showing up.
Always, anytime.
Yeah, dude. All right, see you guys.